Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet Zar, and I am here with another episode. This week, I interview dark artist, poster artist, whatever you want to call him. He's a great artist, Randy Ortiz. You probably know his work from the Mondo posters. He's done amazing work on that, but I love his personal work. Is amazing. I gotta get this camera angle right. I better not. Oh, how about if I move back like this? Okay. Yeah, great. Had a great interview with him. Super cool guy, really talented artist. And that's coming up. Now, what's been happening with me? The usual. Nothing new to report. Shipping books, shipping dystopia books. I think I'm at halfway through, which is, terrible. Great, but terrible. That it's just such a struggle. Working on, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can see some studies here. I'm working on my studies for my solo show in October at Copperell Gallery. Opens October 8th, called Zombie Death Bots. That's going to be a really fun show. So I'm getting started on those so that I don't have to end up doing a whole show in like 3 months and killing myself again. So I'm starting early, for me anyway, earlier than I normally do. That's pretty much it. Yeah. And the usual stuff, working on the tool posters and getting those out, animating some paintings, doing a tutorial for my Patreon. If you want to support the Dark Art Society Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 at patreon.com/Dark Art Society. And you get the podcast a day early and all that stuff. Get your name read on the show. God, I didn't even set that up this time. I should have done that. But you know what? Before we do that, we have an official, we've got a new sponsor for the show. I never expected the show to get sponsors. We've actually got 2 sponsors now, which is really cool, aside from you supporting it on the Patreon. We've got Beautiful Bazaar sponsoring us for the next couple months. We also have Skull Shoppe, which I will talk about after. But Beautiful Bazaar, they've got an art prize. Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize 2022 is now open for entries. Okay, I'm going to give them I want to give them at least 1 minute, because I was contracted to do a 1 minute promo for them. And I want to give them at least 1 minute. So I'm going to time this. This is my first real, ad read. So we'll see how this goes. But to be serious, Beautiful Bazaar is amazing. They are a magazine. They do awesome stuff. They feature like the coolest artists. They kind of, as far as I'm concerned, they sort of took over when Juxtapose got lame, and High Fructose seemed to, I don't know, High Fructose isn't that it doesn't, I never hear about High Fructose anymore. So they kind of seem to take over and focus more on the dark stuff. So I've always loved their magazine and the artists they feature. They're really cool. So anyway, I'm going to read the info for this Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize. Okay. The International Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize 2022 is now open for entries. Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize is an annual non-acquisitive art prize celebrating diversity and excellence in the representational visual arts. This international prize is open to artists in any country and covers all static mediums, traditional art, media, digital. Sorry. Digital art, media, and photography media, all styles from realism to hyperrealism to dark art, pop surrealism, and lowbrow. There's $57,000 in cash and prizes to be won, as well as global exposure and the chance to exhibit at Modern Eden Gallery in San Francisco. Grand prize winner will win $13,500 in cash alongside a host of other prizes. There's also a host of prizes for second and third prize winners in each category. It's worth noting that Beautiful Bizarre team look at every entry. It's the best way to get your work in front of them, including editor-in-chief Daniela Percy herself. On top of that, the 110 finalists will be automatically entered into the People's Choice Award, where the general public will vote on who they want to win, and that's 2 chances to be a winner. But for more information, you can go to beautifulbizarreartprize.art. You can use work from your existing portfolio. You don't have to make new work. Let me shout out to their sponsors also, at Raymar Panels, at NPRINT, at iCanvas Art, at Yasha Young Projects. iCanvas_ at Yasha Young Projects. Hey Yasha, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in a while. At ArtStation HQ. Silver sponsors, at Smarter Art School, at Poets Artists, at Digital Printmaker, at Static Medium, at Rosemary Brushes. Entries closed July 17th, 2022. Midnight, Los Angeles, USA time. So be sure to enter before then. I have almost entered this before, but I haven't done it because I always end up, running out of time or just forgetting to do it. But every time it comes up, I always think I'm going to enter this thing. But I think it's awesome. I think it's a great contest, and they've got a really large social media following, so it's a really good way to get promotion. So I highly endorse them. I would anyway. You know me, I talk about things I like on here, and so anyway, go to beautifulbizarreartprize.art. Now that was way over a minute, so I've always had this belief in over delivering, and that was an over delivery. So I'm happy to do it. Now the second sponsor we got is Skull Shoppe. Now it's Skull, SHOPPE, not SHOP, SHOPPE, and their website is Skull Shoppe. I think it's dot. Let me see, Skull Shoppe. God bless it. Okay, skullshoppe.com. Anyway, their skulls are great. I'm using their skulls. Here's a jawbone of a skull. I use their skulls for reference all the time. I've been using them for Zombie Deathbots reference. Anyway, they're great. I love their skulls. If you join at the $5 level on the Patreon, at the end of next month, we're technically going to start this in May. At the end of next month, they will draw names out of a hat of all the $5 subscribers on Patreon, or maybe it should be $5 and up subscribers. That probably makes more sense. $5 and up, and you can get a free skull. And their skulls are, like $150. So, and they're great. They look exactly like real skulls. They're really amazing. So anyway, that's skullshoppe.com, SHOPPE. So there's the advertising segment of the podcast. Wow, that's a trip. Okay, let's see here. New subscribers. Yeah, Dark Art Society patreon.com/Dark Art Society to join. Okay, so let's see what the new subscribers are. You get your name read on the air if you join, even at the $1 level. But if you join at the $5 level or up, you can get a free skull. You get an entry, one person a month. Okay, I have to log out of my personal one. I really was unprepared for this, as I usually am. I need to learn to delegate. You can join my Patreon too. It's patreon.com/Chet Zar. I've got an animating a painting tutorial coming up this week. I'm going to finish in post. Let's see here. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, people. Picasso the Mundane has messaged me. Okay, last subscriber was Rodney Thompson. Okay, let's see who the new subscribers here are, and then we'll get on with the Randy Ortiz interview. Okay. This always happens when I miss a week. I have a hard time finding the new subscribers. Okay. Oh shit, what was his name? Damn, now I forgot his name. Sorry. What a terrible intro this is. My bad. You don't come for the intro. You come for the interview anyway. Rodney Thompson. Okay. That was the last one I read. And now I've got to sort through deleted pledges because there's always deletions. Well, not always. That's not true. But Patreon goes up and down. It's kind of a weird thing. But I get it. People aren't always making enough money to support it. Well, I don't see Rodney Thompson on my list of subscribers, so I'm just going to start with Anna. Thank you, Anna. Scott Kranak. Thank you, Scott. Nonorama. Thank you, Nonorama. Tyvon Krieger. Kevin McGinnis. Ben Licata. Otis Chamberlain. And Jacob Cannell. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, you make it happen. That's how I can afford to do this podcast. Oh, wait a minute. I probably read those. Here they are. Oops, I read on the wrong spot. Oh, God. Help me. Help me. Okay, this is what I should have read. So, Shane Petty. Mond. I don't know how to pronounce this. Mondkatze. Mond Cats. Thank you for supporting the podcast. All right. That was way too long of an intro. You want the Randy Ortiz interview is really great. Talks about shadow people and sleep paralysis as well a lot. That's something we have in common, among other things. Anyway, his work's awesome. You'll love this interview. It's great. Okay. Thank you for listening. And here we go. Hope you enjoy it. What's up, Randy?
Not much. How's it going with you, man?
It's great. Other than being kind of hot, and you being too cold.
Too cold, yeah. I don't know why I just took off my jacket. I should put
it back on. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Love your work. It's like I kind of rediscovered you on Twitter since I got on for the NFT thing, and now I'm spending a lot of time on there. But you know, I've been a fan of your work for a long time. I don't know if I think maybe I saw it in was it in one of the Spectrum books or some of the Spectrum books, or
I don't think so. No,
I know I've seen like the I don't know. I've seen it before. Love it. Amazing. I was just showing. I was just texting Gabe Leonard, and saying I'm gonna interview this guy today, and he was like, "Oh man, this stuff's great." Awesome. So, yeah, amazing work. God, I got so many questions about so many different things. Well, let's start off with just an introduction to the audience. I mean, where are you from? What's your deal?
Yeah, what is my deal? What is my problem? Well, I lived in Canada all my life. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and started drawing since I was a kid. I think everyone has that story. You just like start out as a kid and doodling and stuff, but when it started taking off was maybe about 10 years ago, 11 years ago is when I started doing this full time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So originally I worked in architecture. And I took that job because, you know, that same old story where your friends or your family will tell you, yeah, you're good at drawing, but you can't make a living off that shit. So you better like think of doing something.
Get a real job.
Get a real job or you're going to be screwed. And I was like, okay. So I listened to everyone, obviously, and I went to architecture thinking that, you know, it would be a job and I could still like be creative in a way. And then I went to college for 3 years, started working. And then like within 3 years, I was like, I haven't been creative at all in this job. it's so boring.
What did you do for that job? Like what
Mostly
was your job?
the technologist side of it. So I'd be drawing like blueprints, working drawings, stuff like that.
Was it
Sometimes
was it drawing still at that point, or
no, it's all computer
yeah,
generated, so it's
right.
all CAD assisted. So and a lot of it was just 2D boring stuff. Just like you'd have to like memorize the coding book and like basically my job in a nutshell was you had like the architects who were the dreamers, right? And then they would come to me like to like formulate it and engineer it. And then my job would be to tell them that they're insane and that this building will kill people. So let's do it this other way. And then it would just you'd have to meet somewhere in the middle and you'd come up with a very boring brick building. So
Wow, so that's why buildings are so boring.
oh dude,
So,
like
so many buildings.
for the most part, yeah, especially in Winnipeg, like all our buildings are just brown brick, gray brick,
Mm-hmm.
like rectangles. But so I did that for 3 years. I was just like everyone, I loved everyone at that place. Like it was like a family, but the job itself, I remember some days I would literally, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but like there were literally some days where I would lock myself in the bathroom and cry.
Yeah, I am so with you, man. I was
Yeah.
there when it came to in the effects business. It got
Oh,
that
really?
bad. Yeah, even in the effects business, it's like after I don't know 15 years, I would like cry on the way home in the commute. Yeah, like this kind of angry crying, like so just like I gotta get out of this, you know.
That's
So it was
so funny
right.
because like, I've thought about doing that job. Like I've always wondered what it'd be like to do special effects stuff like that.
It's a totally great job, but I got to a point where it was, it's like creative, you don't get to really create your own vision. You're usually working for somebody else who's telling you how to do it.
Sure.
You try and make it cool. They try and
Uh,
make it not cool.
yeah,
And then you're
sure.
fighting with them to make their project better. And it makes you feel like you're going crazy. Like, why am I fighting so that you'll have a better product? Stuff like that. And I started doing the fine art thing, and my stuff started painting, or stuff started selling my paintings. So it's like at that point I was like, oh, I see a way out of this, and this is
Mhm.
what I really want to do. So it's like, but I still like another 7 years I was working. So it was just like
Yeah.
torture being at this job I didn't want to be at anymore, while my artwork was kind of starting to take off, but I couldn't quite afford to leave it yet. So
That's
I
so funny
feel you.
because my transition from architecture was to go into more of a commercial artwork type gig, which I was like I was salivating at just being able to like do commercial work with my
Right.
art. And then
Yeah.
once I started doing it, like you, I was like, this kind of sucks too. Like,
That's what
and then
happened with yeah, that's happened with sorry, that's what happened with me. I started thinking, well, I could do digital stuff,
sure.
digital effects too, and I started
Okay.
trying to do that before I did fine art. And then I was like realizing, oh shit, this is exactly like makeup effects. It's like someone else is telling you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, I mean, like maybe the first like 2 years, I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting
Mhm.
paid to draw. But then after a while, yeah, you start to feel like I have more to give.
Right.
Like my work, I feel like my ability was getting better and better the more I was drawing, right? And then it
Right.
came to a point where now it's like, shit, I want to do stuff that I want to do. And these people who are commissioning me, whoever it is, commercial, whatever, they're kind of like reining me in and being like, don't get too creative now. This is what we want you to do. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then just after years of doing that, where I'm like, I want to start telling my stories. Like, why
Right.
can't I make my own creations at this point? So then, yeah, I got to that point, maybe, I don't know, 7 years in. And I was like, I kind of don't like this anymore. I'm going to try other stuff. And then, yeah, then eventually I started doing more fine art stuff. And that's just now I feel kind of taking off a little bit, maybe the past like I don't know, 3 years.
Cool.
But um but I still do commercial gigs. Like I'll do that. Like that's the thing, right? It's like if only you could make so much money to just do what you want to do. But I think for most artists, it's hard. I mean, with NFTs now, it's a lot easier.
Right.
I mean, I'm having trouble with that myself, but like I just started, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I feel a lot of artists struggle with that, like finding that sweet spot where you could be creatively have that freedom and like make enough money to sponsor your habit of like trying to create and be creative.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that when you do commercial gigs usually, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it pays the bill. So
Yeah. I mean, well, plus I've noticed that getting out of effects now, when I do commercial gigs, they're fun again because I don't do them I almost never do commercial
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
then it's like it breaks up the monotony of just doing your own stuff, which is
yeah, for sure.
kind of cool, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
once in a while, if something cool comes by, like a Tool poster or something, it's like
Nice.
a great nice little break, you know. It's like
Yeah.
super
Sweet.
cool. So yeah, so, wow. That How long have you been doing NFTs?
Not that long. I was like around the same time as you, I think. Like
How funny. Like January?
no, I think more October. Yeah, October was when I started.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, it's so funny. So many people I'm talking to are like, I assume that they've, like, I thought you'd been in for a year or so or longer. And
It was
it's
I started in October, and then like I think around that time, I think I came in right when the explosion started dying down a bit.
right,
And then I was in that dip of like when gas was so insanely high for whatever reason. And so I
right.
couldn't really sell anything because no
Yeah,
one wanted to spend $300 on gas just to buy something that was like $100. But like
right.
I was in that dip for like months and I didn't put out anything and then just kind of start picking up again. So yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, how's your experience so far? And you might have covered this on the podcast more, but like, how was your experience?
it's been great so far. I mean, I haven't I've done 5 single ones, just single individual one-on-ones, and
Yeah.
they all sold. So,
Nice.
you know, I'm doing them probably about one every 3 weeks. So it's like I'm waiting I'm waiting to see how long that'll go, and I'm going to keep going until I put one out and it doesn't sell, you know, within a couple weeks or something. So, and then I'm just playing it by ear, you know. Um, the first 3 I did were just still images, and the last 2 are animations. Like I animated my paintings, like
Right. Yeah.
chopped them up and animated them, and people seem to like those. So I'm working on some more, but I also have all this other shit I'm trying to juggle with commissions commissions and getting my book shipped and all this other stuff going on. So it's kind of like I'm in the same spot I was with effects, to where I see this thing over here I want to be doing, but
Sure. Yeah.
I'm kind of trapped. Even though I still love painting, it's not nearly the same situation, but it's kind of funny how it's so similar, like circling back around. But yeah, there's so many things I want to ask you about. One thing, you're famous for these movie posters you do too, which I didn't realize that, like, all these. It's funny because I've been looking at these posters and didn't realize it was you. And it's like, these are some of my favorite movie posters I've seen. They're so cool. And I was researching you a little bit, and I was looking at an interview, and had all these posters, like, oh shit, he does these posters. Because it's a kind of a different style from your personal stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like the personal stuff, you can't put any of that into. Well, sometimes I've tried to like maybe do my own personal twist on a movie, but like usually it doesn't work. But
yeah, they're cool.
But yeah, that's the thing, right? Like you try to find. Well, I do anyway. I try to find a mix of what can I put into this poster so it's clearly an Randy Ortiz piece, but it's also it's about the movie, right?
Right.
So it's hard to like find that balance sometimes. But
yeah,
I like those gigs. Mondo is awesome. Mondo was those Mondo posters were like what kind of got me on the radar of a lot of people.
right.
So like Mitch Putnam and Rob Jones, who are like the creative directors there, they kind of are in a way responsible for my art career. Mitch especially too is the one that onboarded me into NFTs. He's like,
oh wow,
yeah. So like a lot of connection, a lot of history with me and Mondo. So I just got a job today from them, so I'll be working on that.
Oh, that's great.
And, another movie poster as well with them. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever not be doing anything for Mondo. So
how long? When did you start working with them, and how did that gig happen?
I can't remember. It might have been 2011, 2012, maybe. Mitch Putnam, he saw I did a gallery show for Spoke Art in LA, and they did like a giant group show for Wes Anderson films.
Oh wow.
So I was brought on to do that. That was my first gallery show, and I did like, I think I did a Royal Tenenbaums poster or something.
Hmm.
And then it kind of got on the radar of Mitch, and Mitch was like, he just emailed me. He was like, "Do you want to do a poster for the Goonies?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, Mondo, fuck yeah." At that time, Mondo was like, they were popping up. They were like super crazy punk rock, like underground, like
Right.
popular, like cult following. I was like, hell yeah, like this is gonna make my career, I think, and it did eventually.
Yeah.
Holy shit! And then so yeah, I did my first poster for them, first movie poster anyway, was for the Goonies, and that's like still to this day one of the more higher sought posters that I've done for Mondo. Like on eBay, it flips for like $700 sometimes.
Wow.
And, yeah, so
That's
that was
cool.
my first. It's been a while. They've been good to me. So
Was that happening during your illustration phase of your career, kind of, or?
yeah, so like so I mean, if you looked at my like catalog of work, like my artwork at one point just completely changed from like heavy high detail line work to like what I do now, which is more gestural, pastel-y, charcoal type work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around that time where I was heavily influenced by like Aaron Horkey. I don't know if you know that artist.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's a probably one of the best illustrators in for my money anyway, in terms of like the line work is
unbelievable.
insane. And Ken Taylor as well. They both influenced me at the time. So a lot of my work was influenced in that way. Plus, like that style at the time at Mondo was like what was like selling. So like stupidly, I was like, I should do my work like that, like instead of like trying to find my own thing. It's funny, it's one of those growing pain type stories where it's like, oh, I gotta like find my own style.
Oh, every artist goes through that, you know.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah.
So okay, I wanted to ask you, you know, you do these movie posters are like very, I guess, I don't know how you would say it, but it's like easy to print, you know, made for easy screen separation or whatever, where it's like not a lot of gradation. It's more like, you know, blocks of, I can't express myself. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's like you want more like hard edges. So that because it becomes like, well, I mean, like my current style with the gestural, more painterly charcoal stuff is very hard to print, screen print. So yeah, Mondo posters are all screen printed, and so like it has to be separate on layers, and they need to be. I don't want to get into the whole side of it, right? But like it's very difficult to do. Especially if you don't have those hard defined lines. You can't like create a screen to like push the ink through, you know, in a convincing way. But there are printers like DL Screen Printing who are fucking masters at that shit. They literally can take my loose like painterly works and screen print it somehow. I have no idea how they do it, but they pull it off somehow. But they are very experienced. But typically you want like hard edge blocked type work.
So so what's your technique for doing that? Because I've always assumed from being from like back in the day when I started doing digital stuff, like in the late 90s, that was like all kind of done in Illustrator, but a lot of artists do it in Photoshop too, though, and kind of hand paint it, right? So how are you doing that? Which technique are you using?
Well, there are artists that do it in Photoshop that are very, they know what they're doing. My trick is I just do it flat and then pay someone else to separate it.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah.
So you just paint it do you do it in Photoshop, or are you doing it in Illustrator?
No, mostly it's done by hand, but like on paper with charcoal and stuff.
Are you, you're talking the movie posters?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I had no idea.
So then it's black and white and I scan it in and then I color it in Photoshop.
Oh, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense.
But there's like, so like the text and stuff, that's on a separate layer. That's easy to
right.
But usually the art is just usually a flat kind of thing, unless I'm getting like creative and I'll do like layers for specific things. But Typically, yeah, I just they have a team there at Mondo that'll just separate it for me. I
That's
don't know if they
great.
take that out of my paycheck or what, but like they must, because like that shit must be so hard to do. I tried doing it myself once using screen ripping technology, and it's like I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, it's a whole other
It's a
thing.
whole other thing. I just don't have time to learn.
That's kind of why I never even went in that area and thought about it, because I was just like, I'd need to learn Illustrator, and I'm not great at Illustrator, and it seems very technical. I like it, when I've messed around with it before, but I just never even considered doing it that
But
way.
it's a thing too, though, with screen printing. It's a whole. It's a I don't know what you call it, but like it kind of defeats the purpose of what I do sometimes. Where it's like
Right,
screen printing, there's a specific look to it, right? So
right,
then once
right.
you start doing my stuff and using screen print, it kind of is like, why would you screen print like this?
Yeah,
Like it doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Really.
right, right.
It's just the way things are, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess, well, because like digital prints would cost so much more money to do, um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was, having trouble with t-shirts. I was getting screen printed years ago, and in order to get it to look really good, the ink would have to be so thick it was like a vinyl layer on the shirt.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how many colors they use, and it looked amazing, but it's like not a very comfortable shirt to wear.
It just starts cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a cracker.
Yeah.
So funny.
But so when did you start doing the gallery work? Because it sounds like did you do the commercial illustration and then go into gallery work, or were you kind of doing both at the same time? Or
Yeah, it was kind of a mixture of both. I typically don't like doing gallery work because like just how much money it costs to do it.
yeah.
People don't ever talk about that shit where it's like you have to give out like 50% of your
Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just the 50% too. You gotta frame that shit and then ship it. And it's
Well,
like,
especially being in Canada, if you're showing it,
oh,
in LA and stuff a lot,
forget it.
I live in LA, so it's easy for me to I just run and drop something off. But yeah, it makes, it's not necessary like it used to be to be a gallery artist, to be a successful artist,
Yeah.
Um,
I feel, yeah. I mean, like, I feel with Instagram and shit like that, it was like, well, now I'm my own gallery. Like, the
right,
shit I get from showing at a gallery, I'm getting from Instagram. Like,
right, yeah.
and now with NFTs too, it's like
Oh yeah,
you're
God,
cutting out all that middleman stuff, unless you're, I don't know, maybe you're on a platform or whatever, but like, which I like to pick your brain on.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have to do it on everyone. But it's just like, yeah, it's like, no offense to gallery owners, I don't know what it's like to own a gallery.
Oh
Like
yeah,
what it costs, but whatever. But it's
it's
just
a
like
bitch.
sometimes 50%, I'm just like, holy shit. That's like, plus they have
It's
to ship, like it's crazy. It's
yeah, it's like I used to fantasize about having my own gallery, like a physical gallery, until I started curating shows. I've got a really good relationship with Copro Gallery, and
okay.
so it's like, I've curated shows for them, and just seeing behind the scenes, I'll never open a gallery
Well,
unless I'm
yeah,
like so rich that I could just hire people to just do everything, and I don't have to do anything, because it's really, really difficult to run a gallery and really expensive.
sure.
And
Okay.
they're running on a shoestring. It's funny because they take 50%, but it's like it's a job I would never want to do. It's so difficult. But I do. It's like I've always personally been like you, to where it's like I'm my own artist. I sell direct, I sell
Yeah.
prints, but I also have maintained this relationship mainly with Copro Gallery, to where I do a solo show with them like once a year, once every 2 years, just because it's, I had to go the, selling my own stuff route, because gallery sales was never enough to cover my bills. I could never make enough selling through galleries. It just wasn't going to happen. So I started having to do prints and shirts and whatever I could. And I was able to make a living between those two things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I do like a solo show as an excuse to show stuff in a physical place, and have people that really like my work go to see it in person, because that's always really cool, just seeing artwork in person. So
Yeah.
for me, and supporting that gallery is like, it's worth the 50% for me to do that
Sure.
when I do it. But I can't, I've never sold enough in galleries to even come close to making a living, especially living in LA. It's really expensive, you know.
Yeah, and I'd imagine too, like showing at galleries. I mean, there is an upside, I'm supposing. Like I'm assuming that it's just like it opens up your work to more collectors as well, which
Yeah,
is kind of
yeah,
hard to do on your. Well, I mean, like with Instagram and stuff, but like I don't know what kind of collectors like search for new art on Instagram. They probably go through galleries a little
right,
higher end.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just changing so much. It's like, and like you said, with NFTs especially, it's like that's a whole new crop of collectors. A lot of who've never collected art, who don't know
yeah,
anything about art, they're just getting into it for the first time, which is kind of exciting. Talking to some of these collectors and like, you know, realizing that it's new for them too. You know what I
uh,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
They just bought ETH when it was $10 or whatever. It's like, so they got tons of ETH and they're starting to, you
Can you
know,
imagine?
I know, I know.
It sucks because like I heard about
I
NFTs like
know.
a year before it blew up, and I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever
I
heard.
did too. Everybody did that except for a
Yeah,
few people that got in and they're like millionaires now. But
fuck,
fuck,
dude. Can you imagine?
it's like we're lucky we're in now though, really, I think, because it's
Yes,
still, you know,
yeah.
it's I think it's, you know, people say it's like a bubble and it's gonna burst, but I think it's like the art market. It's gonna go up and it's gonna go down, you know.
Yeah.
So we're early still. We just missed that big crazy crazy time when people were selling stuff for $100,000.
Oh man, like
You
people
know?
were making like 20 grand a week, and I'm like,
Can
that's insane.
you imagine? Oh
Ugh.
my God. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I believe in that space, man. I do. The more I get into it, I'm just like, this is just too cool.
It's funny, like sometimes I'll see your tweets about like getting into like getting into it with people who hate it. It's like, oh Chet, why are you doing
I
that?
know everybody, and it's like, I know that everyone tells me, don't waste your time. And it's like, I know that. I know that. I just like, sometimes I can't help it because
Sure.
I know that they're wrong. It's like, it's not even that like I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, no, you're mistaken. You really are mistaken about the things you hate about it are not actually that accurate. It's like
Yeah,
there's some
they
truth to
usually
it.
expose themselves by just the things they say are like clearly you don't know because
Yeah, yeah. And that's the tricky thing about it is it's hard. I mean, I understand like you, I was the same way. Like this is stupid, you know, when I first heard about it. But it's like it's hard to really grasp what's going on and what it's like until you kind of get in there and start interacting with people and interacting with the community. It's like that's when I really started to get it, is when I took that first chance and started like, okay, I'm going to follow a bunch of NFT accounts. I'm going to see what they're talking about and just, you know, comment and get involved. And then it was started clicking. It's like, it's about community more than anything. It's like a community thing. So, but anyway, I've been really trying to keep myself from talking about NFTs because ever since January when I got in, I've just like keep wanting to talk about it on the podcast, and it's like I don't want to
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
piss people off because I know people are going to come around eventually. But
Sure, sure, sure.
um,
Totally
so
understand.
yeah, let's get back to your artwork because I love it so much. I mean, I one, you know, aside from the fact that you're really a great draftsman or whatever you want to call it, you solid drawing skills.
Thanks.
I love your subject matter. I love that you have skull guys with cats and dogs and stuff. It's so great because it's like there's kind of, it's dark but it has a sense of humor to some of it, and then
Yeah,
you know it's just, it's so, I mean, I feel like we have a lot of common in a way. It's like with the darkness and the humor and also the sleep paralysis, which we'll get into and stuff,
sure.
and being independent artists and the way that we've kind of approached our careers, I suppose. But how did you, you know, you've started kind of being, you know, doing dark stuff from the beginning, right? Or were you doing a lot of different stuff?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, first of all, thank you for noticing the humor in my work too, because a lot of people just do not get that.
It's great. It's great.
Where it's like I'm trying to be funny, but like it's scaring people apparently. Like I always get that kind of like it's always like, oh, your work is so dark, and it's like, yeah, I guess, but like it's also kind of funny, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, there's like what is going on? Whatever. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
I kind of just like, I get that all the time where like my work is on the dark side, but it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because I think people think I'm dark, which I kind of am, I guess, but it's just more like I gravitate more towards that, like people gravitate towards horror movies, or like,
Right.
like I some days I like to watch, some pretentious French movie by Michael Haneke, and then the next day I want to watch Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler. Like
Right.
there's many facets to a person's personality.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I just find, I don't know, I just like the stories more of the more sadder subjects, because I just feel, I think that's what life is. It's sad.
Right. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of it is suffering. I mean, it's great, but like I think majority of it is suffering. And
There's no way of getting it's one of those things about life, like dying or death,
yeah,
suffering. It's like if you're alive, you're gonna suffer. It's no matter what.
and death is like the only common thing all of us have. We're all working towards it, right? In a way.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like, I mean, that to me is it's just life, and art is suffering for me anyway.
Yeah.
And then it just ends up, my artwork just ends up being like that. And then sometimes I'll throw a cat in there.
That's a very Buddhist approach. Life is suffering. That's like a major Buddhist tenet is that, life is suffering and attachment causes suffering and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I feel like my stuff to me, it doesn't seem dark. Like I never think like, how dark can I make it? It's like, to me, I'm just trying to make what I think would be so much fun to do and what I think would look really cool. And it's almost like if no one ever told me I was a dark, doing dark art, I wouldn't even think about it.
That's exactly how I feel too.
Right. It's like our aesthetic is oriented towards stuff that's darker, but we don't think of it in contrast to light things. It's just like the way, right?
Yeah, and I don't typically make art thinking that, okay, I'm gonna bum a lot of people out with this. It's gonna be awesome. Like I don't even think that way. I'm just like, here's a story I have in my head. How about I draw this to accompany that story, and then I'll tell that story through whatever my artist statement is on each piece. But I don't set out to like be this way. It just is.
Just how it's just how you are. I remember when I was first starting. I've told the story a million times, so I apologize to the audience, but for saying it again. But I was trying to figure out, what am I going to paint? I know I want to be a painter. I know I love all these painters. I've been drawing all my life. I love Beksinski and Giger and Frazetta and all these great artists, but I didn't know really what to do. And so I was like, I thought about it and I thought, well, I want this to be super real. Like I came out of effects, which is essentially commercial art. And I was like, I don't want it to be commercial art. I want it to be true, pure art from like the realest art I can do. And so I thought, the most real I can remember being as an artist was when I was a little kid, like drawing army men shooting each other, or hot rods, or monsters. And what I used to really draw a lot was monsters. And so I was thinking, I'm just going to paint monsters like I used to do when I was a kid. And that's the thing that seems the most fun to me. And so then I started doing that, and it was like, oh, this is great. I love it so much. These are coming out great. I love them, and I love doing them. And I was like, but I felt like guilty almost, like, man, I hope, just like you said, I hope I'm not bumming people out, or am I, I don't know, just causing negativity in the world. I really had to kind of overcome this.
Oh yeah.
Thing about like, am I doing a good positive thing in the world, or am I just like making it worse by showing ugly stuff? But as I created more work, I saw people were like me that saw it and it made them feel good, and it was like a positive thing for them. So it's almost like we're just painting for people who have the kind of aesthetic that we have, that someone's got to paint for them. There's a lot of us out there.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just like it's also connecting on that level of humans are very complicated, and we have all kinds of emotions, and one of those emotions is dark. And And if you can connect, and for me anyway, if I connect with someone on an emotional level on that wavelength, I'm totally like, I feel like I succeeded in what I wanted to do in the first place, was to connect with my audience, you know.
Right.
The last thing I want to do is make a piece of art and it's just, there's no reaction to it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
um, I mean, I guess the argument could be, why don't you just make more happy stuff to make people happy? But I'm like, there's a lot of that shit out there anyway. So why not, I don't know. How about something that we could have a deep, meaningful discussion over? You know, like,
Right.
talk about mental health. Let's talk about
Yeah.
depression and anxiety. Like, it's not something we should hide from. We should all talk about this kind of shit. It's like, it's real, and a lot of people suffer from it.
Totally.
And we might not suffer as much if we were more vocal about it. And that's where my art comes in, where it's like, I'm displaying what can be in my head, and this is me exercising that demon onto a piece of paper for you, and maybe we could sit and talk about it, you know.
Right. And
That's just me.
yeah, that will lead, I mean, that will lead to happiness. You know what I mean? It's like having that discussion and making these connections. That is a positive thing. So it's more like, you know, looking deeper, which is what dark art's all about anyway, really, I think, is like looking deeper than just on the surface. And
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
you know, another thing I related to you about after reading an interview was how you have no problem letting paintings go because you're more about painting or creating them, drawings. It's like,
Mhm.
you mentioned that. I know a lot of artists are very like precious and like to hold on to their pieces. And I'm the same way. I'm like, if it's done, just get it out into the world, pay me for it and take it.
Yeah,
I don't feel a need to hang on to it and admire it. It's like, it's all about the painting process for me.
yeah,
That's what I love about it. That's my favorite part. And once it's done, it's like selling it is great. You know, I'm happy to do that.
yeah. I mean, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, that would be the, like, I literally, not even like just getting rid, I literally have no qualm about, like, if someone were like, I want you to just take all your art and just rip it in half, I'd be okay, whatever. Pay
As
me,
long as
I'll
you
do
pay me
that.
for it.
Yeah, I don't give it, just pay me. But like, yeah, it's not that I don't like my art. It's you know, I've done all I could with the piece in particular, and my goal was to make it, and then, like I said, connect with an audience. The JPEG's out there on Instagram somewhere, and like, we've had a conversation, and I'm like, or hopefully we've had a conversation with someone, and it's, if someone wants to collect that, that's awesome. If not, then that's okay too. Um, but yeah, I never have an attachment to anything that I make, really. Um, in fact, like, the longer I take to make something, the less connection I start having with it. I don't know if
Interesting.
but I'm just like, I already know what I'm doing. I know what the end result is going to be. But it's like, if you were to watch a movie and you already know the plot to it, it's like you kind of don't want to finish it because you already know what's gonna happen.
Right, right.
But like with me, yeah, that's why I work so fast, is because like I gotta get this out while I'm still excited about it. But yeah, I never really have an attachment to anything. I think that's a healthy way to go
I
about it anyway.
yeah, yeah, I agree. It's always made perfect sense to me. But I do know artists that like hate to part with it, like it's so personal to them.
Sure, yeah, that makes
You
sense
know,
too.
it totally makes sense. I just like, I'm so focused on creating the next one. I just want to keep
Yeah,
painting. I just want to keep
exactly.
painting.
That's
That's
me too.
that's
If
the
I'm
fun
holding on
part.
to if I'm holding on to a piece, then like, how am I gonna move on to the next one? Like, I want to keep creating. And
Right.
that's the fun part, is like creating more stuff. The
Yeah.
not fun part is not being able to come up with anything. That's like the worst thing ever. But
Yeah. It doesn't happen that much to me, but
oh, that's good.
yeah, I've had I mean, I can think of one time I really had a block that was, and I think it was just from exhaustion, you know.
So you never get like burnt out on ever, like,
I mean, yeah, I definitely get burnt out, but that's more of like, I don't want to do it because I'm just
oh,
so tired, you know, and I've done so much. So I've just been working too hard.
sure.
I usually have ideas, you know, pretty easily, but um one time specifically, I was like, man, I had a show coming up and I was like, I'm blank for the first
Sure,
time
yeah.
ever. And it
Oh,
was
it's the
like,
worst.
yeah, it was kind of scary. So I went back and I went and bought a bunch of old EC horror comics from like the 50s and 60s. that I just love these horror comics. You know, those really old
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Those, I always found those so inspiring as a kid, and so I went and bought a bunch on eBay. They had these like volumes of them,
Yeah.
and I started just reading them, for just going through and reading them, and it completely made me inspired, kind of got me in gear again, and inspired me to come up with another show, even though it wasn't based on that at all. It was just like something that I love, kind of got me out of it,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I get burnt out a lot. So it's like, it's like I go into those spells where I'm like, I don't know, I can't come up with anything. And then I start to feel like, how many more times can I go through this? Like,
Right.
oh, how about this? Like, so like, when you ever look at, like, do you ever look at your work and be like, am I going to do this until I'm like 80? Like, it just sounds crazy. Like,
Right. Yeah.
what you're doing now is that you're going to be doing that until you die. It doesn't seem like that's something is sustainable in a way, but and I'll think about that constantly sometimes, but like, especially when I'm like in these dry spells where I'm like, I don't know what to do, and is this a sign that I need to find a real job again? And like, I
Oh
had
no.
that, like in January, was like January up until like, I want to say March of this year, I was like, the fuck am I doing? Like, to the point where I was like, I need to find a job. Like,
Really?
yeah, it got pretty bad. And like,
Wow.
plus like I was going through stuff like, personal stuff. Like my
Mm.
cat was like, on steady decline with his health, and eventually he passed, and it was like one of the worst things in my life. And
It's terrible, man. It's terrible.
It was like, art was like the last fucking thing on my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, your bills don't give a shit about
I know, right?
so the bills were coming, and I was like, my mortgage was coming, and like I did my taxes, and like, holy shit, I owe a lot of money.
Yeah.
thanks NFTs. And then I'm like, holy shit, this is bad. And then like, I'm gonna have to find a new job. But then eventually, like, I don't know what happened, just something happened, like my creativity like went to overgear or something. I don't know, but like maybe like a few weeks ago, I just had a creative burst of energy all of a sudden, and I have all these ideas that I want to do coming up soon that I'm gonna be working on. But it's just like, I look back and I think, I'm like, how many times can this happen to me, where eventually I'm just like, I need something more sustainable. And like, just the thought of having that paycheck at the end of each week, no matter what, is so like enticing to me. But then like, at the same time, it's like, well, that's a sacrifice. I feel that,
Dude, start a Patreon, man. That's what I did. I started a Patreon. And so
what are you doing there? What do you offer there?
I'm not even shipping. I mean, I do study sales and things like that on there, but I'm just showing like my progress, time-lapse videos. I've got this same camera I record on here. I've got it pointed at my easel. So
cool.
I just record everything I paint. I just put the camera on when I paint. And then when a piece is done, I just do I shrink it down so it's a time lapse, and then I do time lapses. I basically post everything that I'm working on as I'm doing it. So and then there's like other things for higher tiers for collectors that get percentage discounts at joining at a certain level, and people get first dibs at new products and stuff, and it's really worked out well. And it's like it's not covering everything, but it's like a good chunk of money that I know is coming every month. And it really takes a lot of pressure off, knowing that, okay, I'm going to get paid this much at least once a month.
Oh, that's nice.
It's kind of a bitch getting people over there, even though it's, you can join for $1 even, but once they get there, most people love it. They stay, because I noticed that, on Instagram and stuff, because I was posting like all the time. I used to post on Instagram progress shots of everything. I was basically, what I'm doing on Patreon, I was doing on Instagram, and people aren't as interested, or they weren't as interested in seeing every little incremental phase I was painting. You know what I mean? Whereas on Patreon, it's like the people that are willing to pay at least $1 a month, they want to see stuff as it's being made, and they want to see the behind the scenes. Whereas casual fans on Instagram, they want to just see cool pictures.
Right.
So now I just do like kind of on social media, I just do like finished regular social media. I just do finished paintings, and then all my behind the scenes and what's going on in my art life and what I'm working on. That's all on Patreon behind the paywall.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great, man. I love it.
That's definitely something to look into for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure, the Dark Art Society's got a Patreon too for people supporting the podcast. So if you get one, I'm sure people will just join it because they already have accounts on Patreon. So if you start one, they'll hear this
right on.
podcast and join your Patreon.
Cool,
I'll join it. I definitely join it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. And you're younger than me, so I feel your pain. I'm at a point where it's like, I can see the end of my life. So it's like, I'm thinking, okay, I hopefully got 20 years left, and then who knows if I'm going to still be mentally there enough to keep painting at that point. But I mean, I've been numerous times to that point where I'm just like, how can I keep doing this? How can this keep going on, this month to month, and just this feast or famine? And but I just kept going with it, just kept doing it. This has started in like 2000 is when I was like, I'm going to do this, and I started doing it. And I don't know, eventually I feel like with NFTs, it's sort of this next phase to where I'm not having to bust my ass so hard, because that's the biggest problem with me, is just I've been able to do it since, like, I don't know, whenever Land of the Lost came out. When did Land of the Lost? Remember that stupid remake of Land of the Lost that came out?
Oh yeah, holy shit!
That was the last movie I worked on. I think it was
really
2009 or 2013. I'm not, something like that. Yeah. And so
wow.
I've been able to be full time since then with just doing my own stuff. And it's like, I figured out a way to do it, but it just is like a grind, man. It's just been so much hard work every single day.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I feel like, points where I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. Just like, it's way too hard. And it just in the last, since, I don't know, the last year, it's gotten to a point where I'm with the Patreon also, where I've kind of gotten over that hump, and I'm not like making tons of money, but it's like, it's not that much of a grind. I can like stop at a certain time in the evening and go to bed at a normal time and all that stuff. So, between Patreon and my web sales, it's like a lot easier now. So
I guess too, like, I mean, this is why the freedom we have as artists is, I guess that's the huge upside to not having an office job with a steady paycheck, right? Mm-hmm. There are sacrifices on both ends, and it depends on which one you want to have.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's that you don't have that sense of security as like an office job would have.
Right.
But you're also working in an office, and so you don't exactly have.
You're also locking yourself in a bathroom at lunch and crying.
Exactly. So there's that, right? So it's like, yeah, maybe I am. This is totally fine, Yeah. You kind of have to switch your brain a little bit like that. But it is scary. I mean, I'm sure you've had months where or 8 months. I don't know if you have, but like I have, where I literally will go a month and there's like no money made.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know.
And that is terrifying. And like it's so hard. But like, I guess when you think about it in that sense, where it's like, well, you have so much more freedom to just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. And you also, what I like about it is you also can, when things are rough, you can go like, okay, I'm going to use my ingenuity and figure out how to make some money. Like, I'm going to make a new print, or I'm going to paint some studies and sell them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of relying on yourself more to bring the money in when you need it, which is ultimately a good feeling when you can pull it off. It's scary though, because every time you think, is this gonna be the one time it doesn't work?
Oh God.
I mean, I remember one time I posted, I had it just was so funny. I just laughed. I took a screen grab of my bank account. It said like $6.27.
Holy shit.
And it was just like, I posted it because it was so absurd. And it was like, I've got a mortgage and I got $6 on my account. But it was funny because people were messaging me, you need help, man. You need me to send you $50. It was really cool that people were worried about me. I was like sort of taking it in stride and just being like, this is what it's like to be an artist. Sometimes you're just completely broke.
God, that just scared me so much.
But my stepdad was an artist growing up. So that's how it was when we were growing up. It was always feast or famine. So I'm kind of used to it, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like if you can bring in enough revenue streams, you can make it all work and know that money's going to be there when you need it for the most part,
Right.
There's a trash truck outside. Sorry about that.
Nope.
Hold on a second. It's trash day. I don't know why I scheduled these for Monday. It's trash day. Yeah, I mean, you going to an office job would be a crime against the arts. You'd never go back to an office job. Your stuff is way too cool. The art world needs you. Don't do it.
Okay.
You can do it.
I just maybe I'm just being dramatic some days where I'm just like,
some days, I relate. I understand, man.
It's just, I don't know.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. It's like one of the hardest ways to make a living. I imagine being like a writer would probably be harder, or a poet. That would be harder, but
well, it's because like you're trying to make it all yourself, right? It's not, you're not just making the art, you're also trying to like market yourself, you're also trying to do all the accounting, you're also trying to do all the fulfillment wrapping shit and like all that stuff. It sucks sometimes.
It's crazy.
I hate that shit.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like I don't know if you saw that post where I was talking about for people who say I'm in NFTs for the money. Did you see that post?
No, not sure.
It was great. It was good.
What did you say?
It was like, I'm trying to remember. It's like, if you think I'm in NFTs for the money, then you've never, fuck, I'm going to screw it up. It was basically like said something like, you be a fine artist for 20 years and tell me I'm doing it for the money. Anybody that, tries to make it in fine art is not doing it for the money. It's
and first of all, too, like there's not everyone that goes into NFTs makes millions of dollars.
Right.
And on top of that, we just got fucked in the ass for so long as artists. We still continue to. Yeah. And it's like finally we get a little bit whatever. I know I'm gonna get into it.
No, I'm so with you. It's like finally there's an opportunity for artists.
No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about the opportunity that this has afforded artists finally
in the history of the world. There's never been a time like this for artists. And it's like, give us a fucking break at least once. It's like,
and I'm not getting crazy rich on this. I'm just doing enough to like get my shit to like afford to like pay my mortgage and my bills, so I can like concentrate on making more art, art that people like, and
totally, man.
Whatever. Now we're getting into tangent on that, but it gets really frustrating.
Man, I'm with you 100%. It's so wrong. It's so wrong. And the other thing, okay, and then I'll stop talking about it. But the other thing is, if you have an issue with, aside from the environmental thing about blockchain being overblown when you compare it to things like online gaming and all kinds of other things, aside from that, the NFT aspect of blockchain is like a minuscule as far as energy consumption, from my understanding of it. It's not like, it's like the blockchain exists whether we mint on it or not. So it's not like the NFT aspect is even adding to any of that. So just to focus on artists doing NFT is so wrong. That's why it gets me so pissed off and I have to say something sometimes, because it's just inaccurate. It's like misplaced anger. But anyway, let's talk about something more fun, like sleep paralysis.
Sure. Yeah. Very fun.
That was another cool thing I read about you, is that you are one of the few people I've ever heard, one of the few artists I've ever heard openly talking about sleep paralysis. And I have had that since it was right around when I went through puberty, I think, like age 12 or 13 is when I first had my first one. And I had one just like 2 nights ago, randomly out of nowhere. I was falling asleep and I got, you get that feeling and you're like, oh
Ugh,
shit.
I hate it. Exactly. That's always my first reaction is, oh fuck, no, I can't move. I can barely breathe.
I wasn't there yet, but I could feel it coming on. I was like, oh
God.
no. And then it's like I didn't even see any figures, but I started floating and I started going down. Like I went over to the side of my bed and I was getting pulled down into the ground. And I was like, oh no. And it was super terrifying. And I woke myself up. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to sleep because it's gonna happen again.
Because it happens again.
Yeah,
if you're not careful. Oh,
and I kept falling asleep and it kept happening and I kept waking myself up and it was like, oh man. And I finally was able to get to sleep because it is not a fun feeling at all. But talk about, I've got a million stories, but I want to hear your experience with sleep paralysis.
They're all the same stories too, I find. It's like, like it's the same way I get them. And then when comparing those stories to other people, it's the same basic plot where like you said, you're slowly kind of falling into your bed. It's almost like there's a pressure of someone pushing you down.
Yeah.
And like you can't move. I don't know if this happens to you where like you think you can't breathe, but you are breathing, but you think you're not.
Yeah. That's like, that was what I had 2 days ago. I was like, and I think that I think maybe I'm not breathing. Like maybe it is sleep apnea or something, because I could feel myself still in my body a little bit. And I was kind of going, like I'm trying to get the breath in because I think, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to breathe and I'm going to float away and die.
I'm gonna end up having sleep paralysis.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I think it's pretty funny. But
have you seen that? You saw the movie The Nightmare. You have to have seen that, right?
I do not want to watch anything involving sleep paralysis. There's a documentary I know, but like I don't want to watch it.
It's so good. It's really scary. but the thing is, it's a documentary where it's just interviews about people who've had sleep paralysis, like a small handful of people, and they've had really intense ones. But the trippy thing, if you don't want to see it, you can just take my word for it. It's like every one of those people, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I had. Oh, I had that happen too. Oh, I had that happen too. Like they all had pieces of I mean, there's like connections that everybody has, like similar things that happen. It's freaky, man. It was that movie just freaked me out.
Usually it's like I don't know if this is the same with you, but like it's you're like awake, but then your dream is almost like it's being projected from your eyes onto like your bedroom wall.
Yeah.
Like, it's like your dream is superimposed on top of your reality. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a weird thing. And then that's where the illusions come from, I think, when you see like the dark figure in your bedroom standing over you.
I see sometimes I'll see through my eyelids. It's like I know my eyes are closed, but I can kind of see the room.
Oh God, that's the worst.
Yeah, it's
sometimes I'll feel like I shook myself awake,
right?
But then like a second later, like no, I'm still in it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And then it just keeps replaying over and over. I'm like shaking myself out of it. Right. But then like it's like a second later, no, you're still in it. It's still, oh my God, I hate it.
I get it when because I've also had like these out of body experiences where they felt amazing, the opposite of the sleep paralysis thing.
Oh wow.
It's the same thing though, because usually I float when I'm having sleep paralysis. It's like sometimes I'll sink, but often I'm like I float off to the side or I float around and I can't control myself. I'm trying to like fly, but I'm just like floating and I can't do anything. And but I've had a couple that were just like amazing, like blissful, basically what it feels like to do ecstasy. That's what it felt like to me. It was like amazing, this love feeling, really cool. But for the most part, it's scary as shit, and it's not like that. But I had one recently too where I couldn't move, and this is a weird one. I just told the story recently, but I'm gonna tell it again because it's so freaky. And the foot of my bed, I couldn't see anything. It was invisible, but I knew it was there in the shape of like a big, like a bell, like a big bell shape or a mound, and it was
Yeah.
invisible, and it was it was like an old lady's voice cursing at me in, like, I thought it was Russian or Romanian or something, like super pissed off, like really mad. And it started coming around the bed to my side, and I was like, oh shit. And I woke up. I was able to pull myself out of it, and I thought, first thing that popped in my head was Baba Yaga. And I
Yeah,
was
sure.
like, and I was like, I don't know really about Baba Yaga.
I think
I
Bobby
know,
Yoga, isn't it like a house with chicken legs or some shit?
yeah.
Uh,
But I was like, I just thought, oh yeah, that was me free associating or whatever. And I eventually, a day or two later, I was like, I'm gonna look that up. And it's a fucking Eastern European mythology, Romanian, Slavic, Russian thing. And it was like, I know she was speaking in like a Slavic or an Eastern European language. It was like, it was curse words in those language. It was so weird.
God,
It
it's
was
so
so
weird.
freaky. And it's like these myths are based on these, whatever they are, whether they're all in our heads or psychological or
Yeah,
who
that's
knows
really
what,
strange. Yeah.
they happen to people for forever. And that's
That's the
how these,
strangest thing. Is like, why are they all the same?
I
Like,
know, it's like it's like these archetypes. It's like like you're talking about the pressure. It's like that's where the what's that myth called where the thing sits in your chest. There's
um,
like a succubus or a, I think, or there's something that sits on your chest and it's supposed to like press down on your chest.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that's usually my thing is I'm being like forced down into the mattress. And it's like I become part of the mattress. It's like the worst feeling
Wow.
ever. Yeah, I don't know. You get the dark figure too sometimes. I mean, you got that one you just talked about, but
I've had, you know what, I haven't had the, as much as that's like the biggest common thread in that movie was
yeah,
these shadow people or the dark figures or top hat, dark figure, top hat,
I never
or
had the hat. It was always just like like a normal silhouette of a human
just
body.
a, okay. My friend saw a normal silhouette. We were tripping, but he saw it that night. He saw it walk by. It was black and it had gold round eyes. That was, other just glowing gold eyes, and then like black figure walking by.
Mhm.
I've had, I mean, first major one I had, it was a guy standing, there was a guy standing next to me who, he looked like a truck driver. Like he had like a kind of heavy set flannel shirt. It wasn't a black figure. It was in a down vest, and he had a pillow. I've told this story a million times too. He had a pillow up in front of his face, so it was covering his face, like he was holding a
God.
pillow. And then he just kept hitting me with the pillow and like putting it back in his face, and it was like terrifying. And I was trying to shake myself out of it. And this voice said, there was a voice that said, he can't hurt you, but he can just scare you. He can only scare you. It was like trying to calm me, and I basically shook myself out of it, and he just kind of like it all just like in a movie, like went kind of got wavery and just
Sure,
disappeared.
yeah.
So that was the only figure that I've encountered. But I've had other ones where I knew there was a figure outside the door that I couldn't see. It's like I just sensed that there was someone in the room or in the next room, just kind of like aware that I was in that state.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my God. So you've seen this black figure?
Yeah, so like it hasn't happened to me in like many years now. Like I do get sleep paralysis, but I don't see the figure anymore. Uh,
Huh.
and it was around the same time where I started drawing them or them. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that one you did with the smiling face.
Yeah.
That is so that is so cool and creepy. That like totally expresses the vibe.
Yeah, so that's basically that character, and like I did a bunch of drawings with him
Yeah,
around
yeah.
that same time, and when I did that, he just stopped showing up.
Oh,
Like
no way.
I'm not saying that's what happened. Like I'm not saying that he stopped showing up because I started drawing, but like coincidentally, and maybe it is. I don't know. But
Yeah,
like he
it's
hasn't been in any of my dreams like since, like literally like for like
wow.
10 years or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, he's
Maybe he just wanted to be seen.
yeah,
That's it.
maybe the influence. But it was just like whenever one of the more common scenarios would be like it would be those people that come into your house sometimes to check your meter or whatever,
Yeah.
like your readings or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be him on the other side of my door, which had a window, and his face would be pushed up
Oh,
against
no way. Are you serious?
and I would always let him in to do the reading. And so, but then that would superimpose into my dream, and I would get sleep paralysis, and he would just stand right next to me in the bed.
Oh my God.
So that would be, but then like it became like after I started drawing him, like he disappeared. But like towards like the moments before I started drawing him, we started to like kind of like be more friendly towards each other. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, meter reader again, what's up? How's it going? Like, oh, you're here again, huh? I'm like, yeah, I can't move, I can't sleep, and I can't breathe. It's like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, yeah, it sucks. And then like,
does he ever speak, or are you talking about just like a general
it was
attitude?
just like, it was just this weird like understanding of
Wow.
like no vocal understanding, but I sound like an insane person right now.
No, hey, you're on the right podcast because I talk about this shit constantly.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just became friends with him, and he stopped bothering me, and I just did a drawing of him. And he was like, "That's awesome. Thanks for drawing me. All right, I'll see you later." You know, I don't know. But
I love that idea. I love that idea. I mean, who knows anything? But I mean, what if you were supposed to draw him? What if it was like something, who knows what? Even if it was just part of your mind or yourself or whatever you want to say, or even if or a spirit or anything, like I'm open to all possibilities because I feel like we don't know shit about anything in the world, really. Yeah. But what if that, whatever it is, wanted to be drawn by you? And like, just as like out of vanity or something.
it could be like a thing where it's just like it's your own self-conscious that you're drawing.
Right.
And
yeah.
Now that has been fulfilled in a way. It's no longer in your psyche because you got it out.
Right. Yeah.
It's not exactly another entity. It's really, in reality, it's just your own head and your own mind that you've now acknowledged. And because you've acknowledged it, it no longer is an issue, kind of thing. I don't know.
Well,
think about.
There's a great book by this occult magician named Lon Duquette, and it's called "It's All in Your Head. You just don't know how big your head is." So it's like, his attitude is like, this stuff is real on that weird spiritual level, but it's also just in your head. But your head, everything's in your head. Everything is all one thing, and it's all one big mind. And I mean, it's not like there's an easy answer for any of this stuff, but I just thought that was kind of a funny movie title or a book title. It's all in your head. You just don't know how big your head is.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the whole thing, right? Behind everything, really.
Yeah, exactly. Behind all weirdness. Anyway. Wow. So have you had any like specifically horrendous ones that are or noteworthy ones that are
really? They're never like well, they're terrifying, but like it's never like I never feel like I'm gonna. No, I do feel like I'm gonna die sometimes. I don't know. They're not like crazy. They're just like, oh, okay, this is probably how I'm gonna die tonight. Whatever. This sucks, but what can I do? I can't move. And then you just snap out of it. But yeah, I don't really call anything that stands out other than like letting in the meter reader type of thing.
Yeah.
But, he's never done anything crazy. You just stand there and stare at me.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty creepy enough.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty unnerving in its own thing. But
dude,
it made for a hell of a drawing, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that drawing, I love that drawing. I immediately saw that. I was like, oh shit, this guy knows. Yeah, I had one I've had a few really noteworthy ones that were like very dreamlike, but they felt different than a dream. But it's hard. It's kind of have you had lucid dream before where you're like become aware?
No, I've always wanted to. I just never like,
so cool. I've had it happen.
What do you do? Do you like, I know you like, people say you practice meditation, which I do. But I've never been able to like get to that point of having. Yeah,
I've never been able to induce it. It just happens every once in a while. I have a lucid dream. I've never been able to make it happen. But the last one I had that was so amazing it's like you just suddenly realize you're in a dream and you're like, oh my God, I'm in a dream. I can do whatever I want. Like I did one, and there was this last one I had was really significant and cool. I was totally suddenly just aware like I am now, but I was in this different world. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. And I was like, I gotta stay in the present. Yeah, I have to stay in the present, because if you start thinking about it being a dream too much, or if you forget that it's a dream, you'll just go back into it. And if and if you start thinking too much about it, you'll pull yourself out of it. So I was, for some reason, there was like a basketball hoop, and I was like, oh, I could fly up to the basketball hoop. And I like took a bite of the backboard of the basketball hoop just because I knew it was a dream. But the trippy thing was, there was these people there all around, and there was this woman sitting down, and I ran over. I was like, oh, we're in a dream. Like I was telling her. And as soon as I told her, she turned into this weird doll. Like she was super realistic. It seemed like a real person. And she turned into like, do you remember those dolls where you'd squeeze them and the eyes would pop out? They were like,
yeah,
and the ears would pop out. It looked like a big doll like that. She just turned into that, which made me think that makes sense, because all of this is like a projection of my mind. And these people are not real. They're like props in this movie I'm having, right? So then I went to go tell the other people in another room. And while I was telling them, I forgot that I was lucid, and it went back into the dream. Like I lost my awareness.
So
it's really cool though.
You took a bite out of the basketball hoop. Like, what did it taste like?
Yeah, it didn't taste like anything, but it was like styrofoam or something. It was like crunchy. It was like
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was neat. And then I could fly around, which is really fun. But anyway, the sleep paralysis is, it's like it's related to lucid dreaming somehow. And I've had sleep paralysis experiences where, like you were saying, that dream is overlaid kind of.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. Like one time I had a really scary one where, and again, if you're a frequent listener of the podcast, you've heard the story a million times, but I heard this on the door, my kitchen door, like over in the other part of the house. I heard like 3 a.m.
God.
Like this frantic knocking. And then I hear these little footsteps come, like running through the house, and there's little giggles from like a 3-year-old child, like a group of them going, hee, hee, all like a group of little children running in the house. And then they came in my room, and they're invisible, but I could see where they were. It was like kind of like the Predator when he turned invisible. You could see, it was sort of like that, but they were totally invisible, but I could see them. They ran around my bed, and then they all stuck their hands in my head. Oh, I was starting to float too. My head was stuck and my feet were coming up. And then they all shoved their hands in my head at the same time. And I felt, which is the first time I've ever had this happen, this excruciating pain in my head.
Whoa.
It was weird because I didn't normally feel pain in any of these. And then I was like able to pull myself out of it after they stuck their hands in my head. It was awful. It's so scary.
Have you made art from all this shit too, or?
I did a show actually called We Are the Shadows, which is was the idea was like these gangster shadow people. And I didn't like literally represent paintings as from my experiences, but it was sort of like taking inspiration from it and just coming up with the concept. So it's like
I'm wondering if you, just out of curiosity, if you were to do it like I did, I wonder if this would stop happening too. Like,
yeah, well, it hasn't. That's the weird thing about the one that happened recently. I haven't had a lot of them happen for a long time, really.
Yeah.
But this one the other night, I was going to say that a lot of they happen a lot of times when my sleep schedule gets thrown off, and if I'm doing, or if I wake up in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep, that's sometimes when it happens. Or taking a nap at a weird time. Sometimes it seems to induce it, but I mean, it's not really an issue or anything, but yeah, I wonder though. I don't know how I would even paint those little invisible kids though.
Drop some acid and then try to fall asleep a little bit and then
I mean, I did do a whole show of them, so that was kind of a fun show. Um, yeah, I love this stuff. I love talking about it. And it might be freaky, but if you ever feel up to it, check out this movie called The Nightmare, because it's
Yeah, I might
really
as well just check it out. Everyone tells me to check it out when we talk about this stuff.
if nothing else, there's stories a lot worse than yours, so it'll make
Oh
you feel
yeah.
better. But yeah, there's some really freaky stories, but and it's like all different types of people. Like one lady's super Christian, and so she frames everything in a very like demonic Christian way, and then another guy's not religious at all and kind of atheist, and so it's like different takes on this, but they all have the same similar experience, which is so interesting. But it's worth watching just to see how similar. You'll just totally be like, oh my god, I can totally relate to this.
Okay, I'll check it out and then
Yeah.
have sleep paralysis that night because that's what I think is going to happen. That's why I don't want to watch those movies because
Really?
But no, I'll totally check it out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't want you to have more sleep paralysis, but I found it was I was it's like I got freaked out the night I watched it. I did. I have to admit, it was like it's hard to scare me with movies nowadays because I've just seen so many. I worked in the industry, but that movie, I was like looking at my door and looking into the living room with the light off, and I was getting the heebie-jeebies from it. But
What is the movie that you worked on that you like the best, like in terms of your work being like you're super proud of?
Probably, well, the Tool videos. I think those were
Sure.
some of the coolest things I ever got to work on. And the Hellboy 2.
Oh,
Yeah, I got to do his arm, and
oh, crazy! I didn't know that.
yeah, I sculpted his arm, and I did this character called the Chamberlain, which is in it for like 2 seconds, but he's like the king's right hand man, sort of. And it looked like Guillermo let me do whatever I wanted, so it looks like one of my characters I would paint. So that was cool because it's like
That's awesome.
I got one of my characters in a movie, is what it felt like. So those ones probably are the big ones for me.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. You ever do any movie work?
No, not really. No,
No.
I don't have any
Yeah.
on that. I don't know what I would do other than draw, but I mean,
Well, creature design and stuff,
Sure.
Because
that stuff like I kind of want. I guess you have like a background in sculpture design too. I'm assuming. So like
yeah.
that's the kind of stuff I also wanted to learn how to do too, but it's just so much.
It's so
time
fun.
dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably be great at sculpting.
Well, I tried learning 3D sculpting like
Yeah.
times. I can't stick to it, but
It's a bitch.
it's so hard.
At first, it's a bitch, but
Oh,
once you get
sure,
over
like-
the hump, it's really fun.
But then, like, you get to parts where, like, the node stuff, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I
Shit.
know.
It's like your engineering stuff, and I'm like, whoa, okay, I cannot retain this information.
Man, I was learning that shit in '98 is when I started learning 3D, and it was like
Sure.
and the programs were way crappier back then, and it was like every day I was learning. I was just so exhausted from but it was worth it though. I remember you get to that point right where you're about to quit, and you just push a little bit further, and then it's like everything clicks, and you're like, okay, and you start, it's like Photoshop. Remember how hard Photoshop was at first, and then now you just zip around. You get up to a point where it's like that, but just on a bigger level. It's fun though.
I was wanting to learn how to do it because of NFTs and stuff.
I know, right?
But it'd be cool to do like augmented reality type stuff. Would be cool.
Yeah. That's what I want to do, some stuff like that too. I'm getting back into it to do that.
Hell yeah! I think that'd be cool just to have like your like a sculpture of one of your creatures that you could have downloaded and then just like have an augmented reality like in your living room.
That would be cool. Yeah,
That would be
I didn't even
awesome.
think of that. That's a cool idea, like a sculpture that would be on a table or something.
Yeah, or like you could walk into its head and like run around and shit. I don't know if that's even a possible thing, but like
that would be awesome.
no, with NFTs, like there's no fucking rules. Like you can
I know. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk a little bit about it, and then know I don't want to keep you too long because I know I'm sure you have things to do, but do you have like plans? I mean, that's the thing about the space. It's so cool, as you can, like you said, you can kind of do anything. and it hasn't been all figured out yet. So it's like there's things that no one's even thought of yet to do, which I find really exciting. So I'm just curious. I don't know. Do you have like ideas of different things you want to do in that realm?
Well, like I said, like the 3D stuff. I mean, this is so far away though, where like I still need to learn how to do all this shit first. I
Hmm.
still need to learn about NFTs, period.
Yeah, I'm
It's
with you
like
there. I'm with you
it's
there.
such a steep learning curve for me anyway. Like I'm just learning now. Like I'm gonna be using Manifold to like make my own smart
Oh, you
contract.
get, oh, really? I've
Yeah,
been,
I think
I've been
so.
too chicken to even try
It
that.
seems pretty easy and straightforward.
Yeah.
I think you should do it. But I
Yeah.
mean, like you're on super rare though, so like who cares? Like you got all the cool shit. I don't. So, God, how'd you get on super? Oh, we don't have to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I had uh two people, one person that was on, no, two people that were on super rare, two artists that knew my work and were fans that put a good word in for me
Oh, nice.
and just said, check this, you should check this artist out. And then I did my you do a video and you list your accomplishments. And when you put all of the shit I've done over the last 20 years,
Yeah, yeah.
30
It makes sense.
years, it's like it's a lot of stuff. Like it's a bunch of movies, tool videos.
Yeah.
So I think just my IMDb, I got a Wikipedia page and all that shit. So it looks like I'm legit. So
Sure. Yeah.
I think that probably had something to do with it, that I've had, been able to sell stuff so for a long time. And I'm sure they're looking, bottom line, they're looking to get artists that make money. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming, I don't know what the behind the scenes were, but I did get in quick. I got super lucky.
Like super quick. That's like
Yeah.
unheard of. I was like, holy shit, this guy's killing it. A little jealous, but like he's killing it. He
Hey,
deserves
if I get, yeah, thanks. If I get, I still am like, I don't know anybody really in there. So it's like, if I ever get to the point where I could influence, looking at,
Yeah.
checking out different artists, I will definitely recommend you for sure.
Hell yeah.
I'm still trying to get like just a foothold. I feel like I'm trying to get a foothold in the whole thing. I'm still a total newbie, it's like,
Sure, yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
It's hard because like it's one of the things is like you're constantly needing to find new collectors too, because like you could only
Right.
sell. I mean, I'm sure this is not this might be different for you because like you have collectors that continually buy your work, but like for most people it's going to be like you're going to have to find someone new because you can only sell so many to one person.
I know.
Right? So you're going to have to constantly find new people to like it's a very strange thing.
But that's like the regular art world.
Yeah, it is kind of, yeah.
I remember there was like a year or two where Guillermo del Toro was buying everything I did. It was crazy. And
Awesome.
and then he just stopped and he's like, I gotta stop buying your work. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
it's like you can't say anything because he's been like super supportive. He's wrote the intro to my book. He's been like amazing and buying my shit. But he was basically like, people that are collectors that have that big of a collection, they have to they can't just buy everything. They have to figure out, okay, I've had enough of this artist. I need to start collecting another artist, or I don't even have enough room to buy any more art, which is not an issue with NFTs, which is one cool thing about it. It's not like you're going to run out of wall space, but so I think it's true in the regular art world too. And difference being though that we don't know anybody at all in NFTs really that are collectors.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty much the same thing, but I don't know why. Just everything feels much more faster in NFT space, where it's just like faster and longer for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. It feels like we've been in for years now, right?
Yeah, but then everything moves so fucking quick, and it's like you become old quicker. I don't know. It's just very strange.
I was old when I came in, so there's a perception though. You never know how you're perceived on Twitter and in that world. And I don't know, my perception of you was as a successful NFT artist. Just from what so it's like you might be feeling like, oh, I'm having a rough time or I'm not selling as much as I'd hoped, but I think it's because your work is so good and you are doing NFTs and you're not, saying, I can't sell anything all the time on Twitter. I mean, perception is like this guy's doing well in it.
It's the whole thing is just so crazy and strange
Right.
and weird and new, and no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's chaotic.
Totally. I love that about it, though.
Kind of fun, yeah. It's kind of fun and terrible at the same time, but
yeah.
We'll see where it goes in the next. Like, imagine where it's going to be in like in 2 years. So
I know. No, I'm just to me the creative potential is what excites me the most. It's like so much cool. I'm seeing so much cool art all the time there. It's like, man, I'm just into it. I've totally bought into it.
And it's also too like just being treated better. Where like,
yeah, that's the other thing.
It's you get paid better, but then also too like you encourage flipping of your artwork because it's like you get a cut of that too. And
right.
Like,
yeah.
Finally, it makes more sense.
Right.
And then you could have like, I don't know, you can still have gallery shows and shit, like virtual, like those virtual galleries are crazy.
Yeah.
They're weird. And it's like, this is kind of cool. And it's like, no one ever talks about the fun stuff.
Oh, there's so much fun stuff. And the community is really cool. It's like,
that too, yeah.
People are super supportive and share your work. And, I just find it so refreshing and different.
I think it's too, because like I think a collective consciousness of like, it's almost like we need to, not to prove something, but more like we're so looked down upon
for
doing this stuff where it's like, no, we got to band together. And like,
that's true. That might be part of it. Like, you're one of the few who's willing to come over, so we're going to embrace you.
Yeah.
That could be part of it. Yeah. Cause it's like so hated.
Well, I mean, like there's some parts of it that are fucking cringy. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah.
There's some parts of it that suck, but like,
like everything though. That's the thing. It's like everything that people complain about the NFT space, it happens in the real world all the time, or it happens with regular money all the time. And, people launder money, criminal money through artwork all the time in the regular world. It's like, it's the same really, but it's just like, there's just as much bad and good as there is in the regular world, but there's like, it's more intense on both sides in a way.
Yeah, that's the thing too, where it's like, like you have people who shit on it, and then you have people who like toxically, positively like support it too.
Right.
And, like, I think it was just Soda that was trying to do once. He was just like, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Where, like, you need to be more grounded and sober when talking about this stuff. You need to collect information on both sides. Don't form your own opinion if it's for you or if it's not, right? It doesn't mean it's not wrong either. It's not right either. It's it's good for you as an artist. And like, this is just a new opportunity for artists to like be heard and seen, and it's finally fucking getting the right amount of money.
Right.
We deserve. We've been doing this for how long? And finally,
exactly.
dude. Like, give us a break.
I know, and it's not even like you're saying, it's not even like millions of dollars. It's just like what we should have been getting all along. Really, it's like prices that are respectable and it's like, it's just it's not, but like you're saying, it's like a neutral thing. That's why I don't get the hate so much. It's like, it's just a thing, and it's how you use it is what makes it good or bad, what you do with it. It's not political. It's totally like this kind of neutral technology,
Yeah. And it's like, it's usually the people who complain are usually the people who never bought my shit in the first place. So it's like, well, what do you want from me? Like, what am I going to do? Like,
I'm going to change my career trajectory from someone that I don't know, that never bought any of my shit
to fit your narrative. Like, no, like it
drives me insane. It's almost always people that haven't supported you in any way, not just by buying your work, but just not by sharing your work or anything.
Yeah. So funny.
Yeah, but whatever. It's people will come around, and like you said, it's not for everybody. It doesn't have to be for everybody, and that's fine. But
and I get why people like hate on it, like in terms of like aesthetic reasons, or like it's kind of cringy. Like sometimes it's like some of those like crazy like 4,000 project things, like the PFP stuff. It's like, it's kind of dumb, but it's like, that's just one aspect of it.
Exactly.
That's one niche portion of it.
Yeah, and it's actually like, it's just that aspect of it can be a fun thing that people do. It doesn't it's not that serious. It's not the same as like a one-of-one serious piece of art that you're intending to be like a serious artistic statement. It's a different thing, but it's just a different use case in that with that technology, you know.
It's like it's one genre of NFT.
Right.
Just like there's genres of movies, right?
Right.
Like you can shit on like the worst, dumbest movies ever, and you could also collect the most like I was saying earlier, the most pretentious movies you want. Like it runs the gamut of flavors and tastes. So it's not just one thing or the other. It's like you could be whatever the hell you want. You
it's like
art.
Yeah, right.
You do cartoony shit, you know, whatever you want.
Yeah. It's like hating all horror movies. It's like there's all kinds of bad horror movies and there's all kinds of really good horror movies. It's like that's one thing about the NFT space. It's like I've seen some of the, I was going to post this the other day, but I don't think I did, but I've seen some of the best and some of the worst art NFTs. Oh, God. It runs the gamut of like, oh my God, how could you even show that to anybody, let alone turn it into an NFT? And then there's these things on the other hand that's like, I've never seen anything like it. This is so amazing. This is so cool.
Some of the worst work though is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
This is amazing that people are trying to sell this, and sometimes it does, and then like I flip around and be like, fuck you. But whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's exciting. It's fun, but wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'll let you go, man. I appreciate you taking the time. That was super fun chatting with you. And
thanks for having me, man. I was surprised that you reached out to have me on your show. I was so honored. Thank you so much.
Oh man, I'm a huge fan of yours. I love your work. Do you have anything you want to promote before we go? Like anything you got coming up or?
Well, I got some Mondo things coming up, but that won't be for a while. So, and also just the NFT stuff. I'm trying to expand more into animated work. So, if you follow me on Instagram, I probably won't be posting there, but
yeah.
If you follow me on Twitter, you can see it all there.
What's your handle on there? Where can people find your website and your Twitter and all that?
On Instagram, I'm Randy Ortiz DTD. On Twitter, I'm
DTD.
Yeah, DTD stands for Damn the Design.
Okay, right.
And my Twitter handle is @DamnTheDesign. And yeah, those are pretty much all I use for my socials.
Cool.
So follow me on there. I'm close to 50,000 on Instagram, like maybe 30 away. So anyone's hearing this, you're not following me, please give me a follow.
Cool.
Not that it matters.
I'll give you a share on there.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Well, the only thing left to do is to say goodbye to the audience. So you just gotta say goodbye, audience.
Goodbye, audience. Sweet dreams. Try not to have a panic attack tonight, like I'm going to, probably.
No sleep paralysis tonight, everybody.
Oh, right. No. Good night.
Good night.